Hey, welcome back to Appalachian Outdoors Podcast. This is our second episode. I'm Russ Cassidy, regional editor for Appalachian newspapers. This is Devin Kidd, directly to my right. He's our outdoor columnist and staff writer. I would argue staff writer's biggest role with us, but he loves to do his outdoor column, so that's where we leave it. And today we're joined by publisher Jeff Vanderbeck on the far right of the table. So I want to talk a little bit today about kind of how this podcast is going to go. We appreciate everybody that watched us last week. Everybody gave us a like, gave us a comment. Really do appreciate y'all. This is going to come out every 2 weeks. And in between, we're going to be doing some tips, tricks, and just some neat videos to kind of keep you guys interested, give you a little bit of information between. But the podcast itself will be done every 2 weeks. And if you have a topic you want us to discuss or have something going on that you're interested in, or even have a suggestion for a story that we could do in connection with this, we'd love to hear from you. Just give us a yell, send us a message through any of our Facebook pages of our newspapers, and we'll try to look into it. So I'm very intrigued as to why Jeff Vanderbeck wanted to join us this week. Jeff is, I do know he does some outdoors activities, but I kind of am interested. So Jeff, why are you here today?
Well, I'm kind of offended, Russ. You say I don't do anything outdoorsy. I cut the grass. I sit on my porch and have a glass of wine here and there. That's outdoors. And, last week I saw your all's podcast and I think it's really cool. And, Devin is a great guy and we had some fantastic comments. And my question to you all is, what are you doing out in the woods, running around there with camouflage on, with your gun on, trying to catch a turkey? Why don't you just go to Food City and get the damn turkey yourself there? I don't get it.
Taste.
Oh,
Well, here's the thing. I get it. My son, who is, as Russ said, a better outdoorsman than I am, when he was home from college a couple of years back, he woke me up about 6 o'clock in the morning, full of blood, and I'm thinking, holy crap, what happened to you? And he says, Daddy, come outside. You got to check this out. So he's outside. And there's blood all over the back of his truck. And he's sitting up there and he's got this turkey that he killed. I'm like, what? Now what do you do with the stupid thing? So we had to take it and he poured salt on it or put it in vinegar. I don't know what the hell he did, but he got the feathers off it. And that night for dinner, we had the turkey breast and he deep fried one and I baked another one. And it was fresh. It was organic. It was beautiful. It was tasty. I get it. I understand it. But, the poor kid spent hours in the field trying to get this turkey. Another story is him and one of his buddies a couple years back. They were going deer hunting day after Thanksgiving. All great and fine. They wake up, they get out before dawn, and it's out there. It's dark. They come back. It's late. They're cleaning their guns. They didn't shoot anything. They didn't shoot anything. They didn't track anything. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. They were dirty. They were stinky. And right, all of a sudden, there's like an 8-point buck in my front yard from me to you guys away. I said, just go get a baseball bat. Well, whack it that way. What the heck are you doing sitting outside in the cold weather? I don't get it. So, Devin, maybe you can enlighten a dumb Yankee like me on what we're doing and why you hunt and what the purpose is. I know we got to thin the herd and all that stuff, but give me a little bit more education on the hunting and do you butcher your own stuff too?
Yeah, pretty well do it start to finish. Now a lot of people do take it to a butcher, but I myself, I feel like that's part of the experience. I've actually cut it, and most of the time I make summer sausage out of deer.
Nice. I've had venison steaks and venison roast, and I think that's really good. But my question also is so when you finally do shoot a deer, you got to track it through the woods, right? You got to find the blood stains.
And that can be easy or hard, depends.
Yeah, it depends on how good a shot you are.
Yeah.
I mean, if you drop it with one shot, then you're good to go right through the lung, right?
I've had a little bit of both instances, so.
If not, you're tracking it for hours and hours and hours, and then you find it, and you got to smack it on the head with a bat or something to put it out of its misery, and then you got to track it from where it's at to your thing. But don't you got to gut it and take its butt out too?
Well,
tell me about that process.
Because of around here, the area we live in, it's best to gut it when you find it, simply because most of the time it's in my case I've dragged a deer as long as 2 hours to get it to a road to where I could get to it. And going back to what you said, like, well, why are you doing that? You know, I don't want it to sound cliche in any means, but it's experience. It's an adrenaline rush, and it's something that nothing on this planet has to offer. Cannot relate to, and that goes with deer, turkey. I'll even go as far as squirrels. Squirrels ain't that long, but every time I walk under a tree, it's just like I could like that's just when I know I'm about to.
Well, you know, I appreciate the adrenaline rush, and I appreciate that. But I had squirrel biscuits and gravy or whatever the heck you people eat around here.
Yeah, I will say if you're gonna go off of if you're gonna say, okay, I'm gonna see whether wild game is worth eating or not, I wouldn't start with squirrel.
Well,
I'd probably try the turkey or something.
Well, I'm just because I don't hunt doesn't mean I haven't tried it. I had beaver before, which it was okay. It kind of looked and tasted a little bit like filet, but it was a little bit tougher. And I guess it's based upon how you cook it. But my the tree rat thing is really phenomenal to me. You know, you spend hours, you got to hit one. And if you shoot buckshot in the stupid thing,
Yeah,
you got to use like a 22, right? To whack it in the head and just have a good clean shot because it's only one unit that goes through it and kills it.
well, I've probably shot more with a 20 gauge than I have anything.
Oh,
Every now and then you may bite into a buckshot.
see, then you need, so not only do you need to go to the gun store to get the ammo and the weapon, you need to go to a dentist too because you're going to crack your thing on a buckshot.
I will say, just going back to the adrenaline rush, then the aftermath, what you have to go through, you know, I guess field to table.
Right.
You know, there I have zero respect, and this happens. It happens. You have the guys that go out, shoot the deer, cut the antlers off, leave everything laying. I have no respect for that.
That should be a crime, in my opinion.
I'm a firm believer,
But
but I will not pull the trigger on anything that I'm not going to eat.
Okay, that's good. So you've got children.
Mhm.
Do your children go out and hunt with you? Do they eat the food that you bring home?
Working on it. Working.
Does your wife eat the squirrels and the tree rats you bring home?
Tree.
I mean, I don't get it. I mean, I watched them they dressed the rat one time.
She really likes the jerky, and she likes the summer sausage. And I'll be honest with you, that's what most people like now. You know, a lot of people like just regular deer meat. Like you said, you sure eat deer meat, but I would argue that there's nothing better. And when it comes right down to it, elk is the best thing I've ever ate on this planet.
I've had that before, and that's really good.
Best thing I've ever ate.
So I got a funny story to tell you. And speaking of outdoorsy and animals and stuff, there was we run the bargain hunter here, and there's a phone call that came in after hours, and some good old boy from some holler somewhere said, "Hey, I need to put an ad in the bargain hunter." I said, "All right, what are you doing?" He goes, "Well, I got a dozen rabbits fully dressed." And he caught me off guard, and I'm like, "All right, dressed as what?" He says, "They're dressed." I'm like, "Well, I heard you, but what did you dress up your rabbits for, and how do you sell them?" He goes, "I'm going to sell them all." He goes, "They're fully dressed though." I'm like, "I heard you, but what does that mean?" He goes, "Boy, where are you from?" I says, "Well, not from around here. I don't know what you're talking about. Why would you spend your time dressing rabbits? I mean, did you not have a Ken doll or play Army Joe with G.I. Joe when you were a kid?" He says, "No." He goes, "They're dressed. They're cleaned and ready to eat." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know anything about that." So you hunters have these unique terms. And when you talk about these things, that's really important to let people know that when you talk to the dumbasses like me or idiots like me, that this is what you've got to say. So fully dressed means that they're ready, cook, eat, and
The reason he probably went with rabbits is by far the easiest things to clean and skin.
they're
10 to 1 easier than a squirrel. Like their skin's just so, I mean, it just.
See, the fact that you know that scares me. Okay.
My brother-in-law said that last time he was off.
Well, but you don't have to always kill everything to hunt, right? I mean, some hunting involves just collecting, right? I mean, like, what do you got here, David?
Well, you call them morels, and I've heard them called that. You know, most people just call them mushrooms, but I found about 10 or 15, and we haven't actually hit the honey hole yet. What I call the honey hole, which is the top of the hill.
See, that's another thing that you talk about here. To me, that means something completely different.
What's
But the honey hole. I'll leave that up to you guys, and you guys can deal with that accordingly. But yeah, I saw those, and I like to cook. And what's really good is that I've seen those before, and I've used those before, and they're very good to eat.
One of the most delicious dishes I've ever had with morels was actually at a hotel in Lexington. They made a veal with a morel sauce that was just, I mean, this is 20 years ago, and I can still remember how good it is. And then I've also had morels just straight fried in butter in a pan, and I'm telling you, they're one of the most delicious. I've never hunted for them, but I should.
It's and I think it goes back to, you know, it's everybody's God-given right to live however they would like to live. But when it comes to the outdoors, I do think there's something in the outdoors for everybody. Not everybody wants to pull the trigger on an animal, and I get that.
Sure.
But if you get outside of that, I mean, I know of kids 3 to 4 years old that love going out looking for these things that I could never see pulling the trigger on the animal. They just love walking through shores looking for.
Well, that and I see people out there hunting for ginseng and all that stuff too. So that's interesting. You know, again, you know, I don't like snakes. I don't like rats. I don't like creepy bugs. I don't like none of that stuff. I'm a concrete jungle type of guy. But if I have to, I'll go out. I mean, my friends threaten to take me hunting, but they would tell me I won't shut up long enough. I'll scare the animals away. And I mean, I agree with that. You know, it's good.
That's usually the most difficult part for newbies, I guess.
Shutting up.
Yeah, being quiet long enough.
Well, that's hard for me to do, as you could tell.
Well, I will point out though, and this is something that's always been true. Even though Jeff is not an outdoorsman, he is a strong supporter of the Second Amendment and will shoot and has shot nearly every type of weapon available. I mean,
Well, you know, I do believe in that, and I also, you know, there's a lot of things we do have these freedoms that we have, and unfortunately, people take the freedoms way too far. But yeah, I have weapons. I love shooting guns. I think, you know, talk about the adrenaline rush. You know, I enjoy going out, and it's relaxing to me. It's fun. I've introduced my nephew to that. He's a kid from New Jersey, and we call him the Hebrew Hitman because he hits everything and all the targets, and he loves to do that. But before I even touched the weapon, the first thing I did is I took a safety course. And I think one of the things that we have to deal with in our society now is that, you know, I wrote a column today about, you know, teen driving and 15-year-olds driving. And I think, you know, we want to teach our kids. The reason why I asked about your children is, if you're going to teach your kids how to hunt and do all that stuff, I think it should be recommended and required that they take a gun safety course before they even are allowed to do that.
I could definitely, which there's a hunter safety course, but I agree with you. Specifically a weapon safety course.
Sure.
As well.
And it goes to
archery, or
I was going to say it goes to not only guns but archery and, you know, cannons and, you know, tanks or whatever these children or whatever the adult wants to get into, whatever they decide that they're going to do. I believe it's important to do that. You got to take a driving class to drive a car. You got to take all kind of classes to do the things that you have. If you want to be a carpenter, you've got to take some sort of class to learn carpentry and plumbing.
He's over here talking about tanks. We don't have elephants.
No, but there's a couple of buildings I think we should level with a Sidewinder missile here and there. But that's a whole different story. But I believe that, you know, if you're going to kill an animal and use it for food and do it responsibly, I think that's part of the thing. Because, you know, the more, in my opinion, this is my stupid opinion, but the more animals we kill for food, the less we're going to hit with our pickup trucks and our cars.
Yeah,
I hope
we'll get into that topic for sure one of these days of the control. We've already discussed it in the first episode, but you know, people don't really understand. Well, if you shut down hunting tomorrow, you're going to be overrun with deer by, you know, 2 years down the road. They're going to be able.
Yeah, they don't have birth control to deal. They just fornicate and they reproduce all like rabbits. I mean, you got to do something with them or else we'll be overrun.
And that's something I think a lot of people don't understand. I mean, I can think of talking to individuals in the past that being anti-hunting, and again, people have that right. Sure, that way. But I think a lot of times people don't understand. You take from October. I guarantee you, I don't know this, but if you look it up, from right around the end of October from Halloween through November, I bet car wrecks as far as deer related are definitely higher then, because that's when the peak of the rut.
Right, exactly.
And and obviously that's when modern firearm season comes in for Kentucky. If that didn't, because there's people comes out of the woodworks to hunt that opening weekend. Right?
Absolutely.
If they did not, there would be a lot more
Fatalities. Sure, exactly.
Yeah.
Russ, you mentioned something a little bit earlier about if people like to see things, and one of the things that we do here, in addition to these podcasts and report the news and stuff like that, we do feature articles, and we had some magazines that we put together. We had Shannon Wright from the Wright companies. He killed the giant turkey, and he was on the front cover. And then we had Tosh. Tosh. She killed, I don't know, something. It was huge. It was 10 times bigger than she is. She's an itty bitty thing, and she whacked that thing and probably with
yeah.
I don't know what kind of weapon. Maybe a 30-06 or something like that, or or the tank we were talking about. But that little girl, she was right on target, and we had the headlines as Tosh on target, and we featured her, and everybody in the whole world who knows who Tosh is. But she's a deer hunter, and she does that kind of stuff. But going back to Russ's point, folks are interested in talking to us about their stuff, please send it to us. I mean, we'd love to talk to the responsible hunters who are doing things. So that would be great.
We got to kind of wrap it up for today, but I also want to stress before we close out that it's not just about hunting and fishing. It's about ATVs. It's about hiking. It's about anything you can do outdoors. You have to forgive me a little bit today. I'm under the weather a little bit, the pollen outside.
You're spending too much time outdoors. It's a problem.
It's kind of like the Sam Elliott quote from The Big Lebowski. Sometimes you eat the bar and sometimes it eats you. Well, I'm getting to eat right now. So, but no, I mean, I did get my son out and did a little bit of fishing. My youngest, I'm starting to teach him that. We didn't have much success, but like I said, if you've got something you want us to hear or check into or discuss or whatever, definitely get in touch with us.
Happy hunting. Find the morels, bring them to us. We'll make some nice pasta.